Our democracy has major issues, and there are significant problems affecting voters today. The issue is the actual problems aren't necessarily being discussed very much, not by those in power. It's BS, fake concerns that don't actually exist. For instance, this.
And you go to California, which is so many sanctuary cities, they don't know what's happening out there. You have people that want to get rid of those sanctuary cities. They just aren't able to do it with the people that get elected. A lot of illegal voting going on out there, by the way. A lot of illegal voting.
Okay, so you've probably heard that before. Millions of illegal votes in California. Where's your evidence? It's right here. There's nothing, but let's set up a voter fraud commission. Let's have it do meetings for like 9 months and then fade away into the mist like Thanos snapped his fingers because they didn't find anything. It's about protecting his ego. And the issue is, there are significant problems that need to be addressed in a number of different ways. We're not gonna touch all of them, but weirdly, just in the last 24 hours, we had a special election. And in it, North Carolina Republican Dan Bishop, he won. Narrowly, it was within 2 points, but he won as a result of, after winning his primary back in September, earlier. So he ended up winning this because in the previous election, this was a special election to replace Mark Harris, who had been the candidate, declared that he wouldn't be pursuing another run in the re-election that was necessitated because there was very good reason to believe that he had tampered with absentee ballots. And even though there was a ton of evidence that the Republican candidate had falsified the vote, they didn't make him lose and award the win to the Democrat. They just said, we'll have another election. And in this one, the Democrat didn't win. He won the first one, but not the second one. So conveniently, as a result of Republican voter tampering, Republicans have another seat in the House.
We get a do-over. It's anytime you see someone, especially like Trump and generally this Republican Party, being concerned about something that's happening that's unfair to our democracy, a lot of times it's them that's carrying it out. So it's like, it's pointing that way because all the attention should be at the person that's pointing. So every time he says, look over there, just turn those fingers back, and that's who the guy who's implementing exactly what the problem is. Also, the specifics of what he said in that opening clip was, people are doing things down there. By the way, there's illegal voting, and they just can't do anything about it.
They don't know what's happening.
Simple details, just, of course, no one can ask him this at one of his hate rallies, but which people? Why can't they do it? What kind of illegal voting? Who's carrying it out? How are they getting it done? You know all this stuff, right? How about you tell us how it's happening?
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about something else that's happening. We're gonna go over, I apologize, but this is just too important not to talk about because, look, individual claims of voter fraud that don't exist, that's an issue. But systemic voter suppression is far worse. And so Mother Jones just did a great write-up about something that's been going on for the past 5 or 6 years. Back in 2013, the Supreme Court gutted a core provision of the Voting Rights Act. The requirement for certain states with a history of voter discrimination to pre-clear changes in their election rules with the federal government. In the 5-4 decision, Shelby County versus Holder, the court ruled that the coverage formula for determining those jurisdictions subject to that pre-clearance was outdated and therefore unconstitutional. So for literally decades, states that were known to, with a racial objective, stop people from voting had to go through the federal government. And generally, we're still allowed to do whatever they wanted. But it was at least something. Then that was cleared in 2013, but it probably didn't have any effect, right? Well, no, unfortunately not. There's a new report, Democracy Diverted, polling place closures and the right to vote. Since 2013, in those places that had previously needed pre-clearance, 1,688 polling places have been shut down. It's an analysis of hundreds and hundreds of counties over that time period. And most of the closures, according to the report, quote, occurred in states and localities with past histories of racial discrimination in voting, and that some took place amid a larger constellation of efforts to prevent voters of color from electing the candidates of their choice. Things like incredibly harsh and difficult to get voter ID, things like that. To give you a breakdown of how bad it is in certain areas, Texas shut down 750 polling places, Arizona 320, Georgia 214. That was actually a big story in the last midterms, was Georgia just right before the election shutting down tons of polling places in areas that, hey, what do you know, a lot of African American voters tend to live.
It's again, you can see all the smoke, you can see the fire, but until people in power do something about it, it doesn't matter. We can talk about it, we can point out the obvious discrepancies or actually see what's happening here. And sorry, I don't want to completely blank on his name, but Wyrick from the 80s, the Republican, maybe strategist, but Republican who said, hey, I don't want people to come out and vote.
Oh, yeah.
We win when fewer people vote.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. When you have huge voter turnout, you have people that elect, they're more likely to elect someone who's gonna do something for them rather than the person who tells them what they should think.
Yeah.
And he said it openly, for this party, I don't want people to vote.
Yeah.
It's happening right in front of your face. That's not some new age prophecy that isn't on tape. If we don't want to believe what quotes say, just look at it directly. We've seen it a million times. So when you shut down over 1,600 voting places, what does that mean? It means fewer people vote. And where are those places being shut down? In places that historically we've always shut down voting.
Exactly. Yeah, the theme of the show is there are no lines in the sand that you can't cross. So you can oppose health benefits for first responders on 9/11, and even when the two parties are shouting their ideas about who should vote and how much voting there should be, and it could not be more clear that the Republicans don't give a damn about democracy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to hurt them. It's not a thing that people campaign on. People don't lose their seats for trying to stop Americans from voting. I guess I'm dumb and naive. That seems like it should be important, but apparently it's not. So anyway, there are issues with our democracy, but they're not the ones you're gonna hear about at a Trump rally. Here on the Damage Report, we talk a lot about the big banks and their ways of getting rich off the poor. They saturate the market, but there are other options. And I've got info on a socially and environmentally responsible financial institution that has no ATM fees, gives you cash back on every purchase. They even commit 10% of their earnings to charity. It's called Aspiration, and if you go to aspiration.com/TYT to sign up, you'll get these perks, and that's more money to spend or to save or to spend. Just treat yourself.